Good evening, Milwaukee. Today we'll touch up on the latest trends in model and diecast cars, as well as get an in-depth look into what a major collection really entails. We also have some sleek models to share with all of you today, so you're not going to want to miss it right here on Miniature Wheels inside the world of diecast vehicles. Hello and thanks for joining us on Miniature Wheels inside the world of diecast vehicles, a show where we discuss many popular topics from modeling cars, trains, aircraft, as well as some pre-built diecast vehicles. I'm your host for today, Tanner Burke, and I'm joined by an avid collector of model cars, airplanes, and other vehicles of interest, my friend Mike Klessig. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Mike, modeling cars means different things to different collectors. To you, what exactly does the art and craft of modeling vehicles entail?
For the most part, it's a relaxation time. After work, you come home, and it's just nice to sit down and be able to take some parts and just sand and paint and put them together and just generally relax.
Absolutely.
And at the end of it, hopefully you have something that looks nice and you can display, and
Cool.
maybe a piece of history or whatever it might be.
Definitely. So you've it's a great way to just kind of escape the everyday stresses of the world and get into your own little zone and
Right.
Put some time and effort into a cool project. Good, excellent. Now every modeler has their own different techniques. They pick up different techniques from different people over the years. Are there any specific techniques that you've picked up in your experience that really stand out, that have helped you, that maybe someone at home who's a modeler might think or find useful?
Well, the biggest part, I guess, is just paying attention to the details.
Definitely.
Making sure things are clean. I mean, the biggest problem with most is just lack of patience, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to get things done right away, and you'll paint the body or whatever, and there's dust specks all over it, and you get frustrated and throw it in the box and go on to something else. So it's just, you know, going through the processes necessary to make sure that the results are what you want.
Taking that time to really make sure the fine line is there.
Exactly.
Now I have a terrible patience, and this is why my model cars are just awful. So from man to man, is there anything you personally have for me or anyone at home, any techniques that might save you a little bit of time, any kind of shortcuts or cheats that might not sacrifice some of the quality of the fine detail?
Unfortunately, there's really not any good shortcuts.
Darn.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, there's new tools and stuff always coming out that have helped things along. You know, the sprays that are available, paints that are available these days. You can paint something and it'll be dry and ready to polish or whatever within a couple hours, whereas years ago, you know, it would take weeks for it to dry enough to really work on. So
Absolutely.
that kind of stuff has helped a lot.
Excellent. Any do's or don'ts that you think or you've heard some people do that you really kind of frown upon a little bit, or anything?
Well, well, don't thin your paint with gasoline. I've heard that before.
That sounds like a hazard.
yeah, it's not a good idea.
Oh man.
No, other than that, it's just common sense stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Really taking that time to make sure your intricate detail is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now I'm really curious. Everyone has their own pools of inspiration. When you go to a hobby store or you decide to look online and purchase a kit, Where do you pull your inspiration from for your cars? Is there something that really draws you towards a certain car, or?
Overall design, I guess, the aesthetics of the car. My main focus, interest is the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Okay.
So that's anything that comes out in that to do with that race, I definitely take a look at. But as my job, I'm kind of an engineer, so I like to look at the engineering aspect of it as well and try to learn, okay, what did these guys do with their vehicle that they thought was better than, everybody else? What made it different? And just the look, the graphics of the car. That's
so. Is that something that you think about when you pick up a kit or something you want to change a little bit? That maybe you look into the aftermarket parts. Is that your inspiration kind of drives you towards customizing it a little bit? I mean, everyone wants to make their cars their own.
Right.
They want to leave their own personal imprint in their model. What do you think about when customizing and buying kits or picking out different parts for different cars?
Most of it is, again, geared towards if I see a specific car, being that, Le Mans, you want to be historically accurate if you can.
Definitely.
So you look for parts that are specific to that car, be it an aftermarket decal set, or maybe some body parts or wheels or something to do with engine detail. That's kind of what I look for as far as narrowing it down.
All right. Well, next, we'll take you on a little field trip over to the home of a frequent collector, Al Jones, whose extreme passion for building model cars, planes, and boats have spread throughout his entire home. As with any scale model, every treasure has a story, and Mr. Jones certainly has many to tell. Let's take a look.
My name is Al Jones, and I've been doing models almost all of my life. I collect model cars, I collect aircraft, I collect trains, and I've been doing it ever since I came to Milwaukee pretty steady. In 1949, my grandfather's girlfriend brought me a stamped aluminum model airplane fighter kit that I was able to put together. And it spurred an interest in me that led to stick and tissue, it led to plastic models, it branched out into model cars, it branched out into model railroads. My motivation to build a particular kit comes from many different areas. One of the main ones is the technology that's available today. Our new kits are absolutely fabulous. First of all, they're coming out with more parts, so you get more detail in the kits. The parts are more perfectly made so that when you put them together, so I pick a lot of new kits to build as an access to the newest stuff that's on the market, and it consumes a huge amount of time. A standard model comes in a plastic model kit, probably takes around 20 hours to put together paint and put the decals on if it is a simple kit. And then I don't think I do many under 20 hours, so it goes up from there. I've spent several hundred hours building a model. The Diecast model car and truck collection started as a result of the Publishers Clearinghouse $1 Million a Year contest. They send an envelope, usually twice a week, with tags in that show products that they have for sale, and one of the products that they have for sale are these models. Now, I particularly chose the 32nd scale ones because they match up with the 32nd scale plastic model kits that I built. I have on display on my table in the other room a 32nd scale F-80 Shooting Star by Lockheed. and a 53 Chevrolet Bel Air convertible, and they are both in the same scale. And when I go to a contest, that's the way I put the models out on the table. I have a renter who lives downstairs in my house here, who is also a model builder. He's a little bit different than I am in that I like to have old stock types of equipment, both in the cars and in. He likes the modern stuff, the jets and so forth.
We like to kind of compare our models. Al is really good at having very, very clean builds that look like they're factory fresh. My style is more having a somewhat weathered look to them, kind of how you would actually see them out in the field. This is a Marine M1A1HA Abrams tank that was used during the Iraq War, during the invasion. I had found some photos of the actual tank online that I really liked and thought that I would try stabbing at building the actual tank. It's kind of unique because it had the camo netting around the turret, which was that was the only photo I've ever seen of any tanks during the war that had that. So I tried to depict a little scene then with the crew on top and all their baggage and that, and yeah, it was something that was a very fun build.
My personal railroad here in my home is very small because my house is very small. It's 4 foot by 6 foot. It has track, it has buildings, it has a few plants, it has some cars and trucks, but it has basically no grass, no other kind of scenery. And all I'm interested in is running the trains. What does the future hold? I expect at 75 years of age that I will be building at least for another 10 years. I would like to be building for another 20 years. It's an excellent hobby. It keeps me off the street corners, it keeps me out of the taverns, keeps me out of trouble. The club that I belong to is excellent. We've got 120 guys in it. We get 50, 60 brand new models down to each club meeting every month. And it's not only building for your own personal pleasure, but it's building to please all of your modeling buddies. That keeps me going. I enjoy having everybody going oh and ah over whatever I put on the table.
All right, that was quite the fantastic collection. I wish I had my own train set that extensive, which brings me to my next topic, personal collections. Now, Mike here, I'm sitting still here with Mike. He has some of his own cars and his own models that he's put together. Mike, how many cars do you have in your collection?
I'd guess probably about 350.
That's all?
Well, not all built, but yeah.
Is that something that you started doing ever since you were a kid, modeling cars?
I've started building pretty much anything as a kid, cars, tanks, planes, anything.
Excellent.
And then as you get into high school and college and stuff, you kind of lose the hobby for a little while and then
Pick it up again
get back
later.
into it.
Excellent.
So
That's awesome. Now, Mike has brought a few cars to show us today. Mike, would you like to talk about this one over here?
the first one is a Nissan that was run at Le Mans in 1999. It's a 43rd scale. Kit is from BBR out of Italy, I believe. My main interest in this one was just being Le Mans 24-hour competitor, and the graphics on it I thought were just particularly striking. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of what led me to grab this one.
Now, are there any custom pieces on that car, or is that straight from the kit?
This is pretty much straight from the kit. I did add a photo etch seat belt set, which
cool.
I'm sure you can't see, but and the seat actually was missing from the kit, so I had to scratch build that. So, that was pretty minor actually.
Excellent. And then to your left, what do we have here? What'd you bring in here for us?
This one is a Jaguar XKE.
Okay.
It was run by Briggs Cunningham at the 63 Le Mans 24 Hours. This one I actually had to do quite a bit of modification to replicate the car as it ran. there is no kit specifically for it, so I had to add different decals, scratch building parts for the hood or the roof and the trunk air extractions, and different wheels, different decals.
Excellent. Now is that, now racing is obviously your kind of go-to for when you're designing cars or painting cars? Is that something you primarily try and lean towards? I know a lot of collectors, some are really fond of making cars look like they've been run down, like using weathering techniques and whatnot. You tend to stick more with the clean racing kind of sheen, or?
Yeah, for the most part, and I think a lot of car guys in general will do factory showroom fresh looking cars.
Absolutely.
I do want to get into doing a little weathering, and I've kind of started dabbling in aircraft a little bit. Excellent. To practice with those techniques a little more before I try to apply them to a car.
Okay. And then this guy over here, now this is a hot car. This is actually, I don't know how you got this model, because this is actually the exact replica of what is sitting in my driveway. I can't take it to work, obviously. It's not technically street legal, but could you tell us a little bit about what we got going on over here?
Well, this one is a Ferrari 312B. It's a Tamiya kit, 12th scale. It was actually first released, probably in the early 70s, and then reissued about a year or two ago. And I actually got this kit to do as a review sample for Scale Auto magazine.
Wow.
They supply the kit and then ask me to put it together and just kind of give my impressions and write a little article on if I had any problems,
right.
What's included, and just generally how the kit goes together. That's
great. That's awesome. Anything in particular that you've learned from putting this particular car together, or?
The main difference is just in the molding qualities, I guess. So much advancements have been made in tool design, especially as far as how you can get a lot of detail and yet still simplify the parts themselves, whereas this one, it has a lot of detail, but there's a lot of intricate little parts to go along with it.
Definitely.
So nowadays they can do the same thing, and with the different mold technologies, they can produce it a lot more simply, so it's easier to put together.
Excellent. That's awesome. Are these things you'd prepare for maybe a club or something, or is there anything, for any viewers out that are watching, what kind of clubs do people offer in Milwaukee or in the southeastern Wisconsin area that some people might be interested in?
Well, there's several clubs. Actually, I'm part of the Auto Modelers Group of Milwaukee. I am vice president.
Excellent.
And we meet first Friday of every month at the Waterstone Bank on South 27th. Meetings at 7 o'clock, so anybody's free to come in and just come down and take a look, see what it's all about.
What kind of what kind of events do you guys hold, or what goes on with? Just like showing your cars, or just kind of gathering and discussing different techniques, or stuff like that, or?
Yeah, it's for the most part, it's just a gab session, I guess. You bring in what you've been working on or what you've completed in the last month, and we have a table talk session where a person gets up and talks about what he brought for that month, and you can share ideas and techniques with everybody else there. And if you're having a problem, there's plenty of people to go to try to figure out how to fix it.
That's awesome. Now, I'm thoroughly curious, and I'm sure you probably wouldn't want to answer the question, but if you had to put a number on how many hours you have spent over the last however many years you've been working on these cars, let me make it a little more specific. If you had to pick like an average amount of time that it takes for one of your main pieces that you really like want to put a lot of heart and soul into, how long would you spend on one model?
On average, I would say it's between a month to maybe 3 months,
Okay.
depending on the complexity of the kit and how much aftermarket stuff you want to add, how much stuff you want to change.
Definitely.
Strictly out of the box, yeah, it's probably closer to a month.
Okay. Now I know there are different, obviously different levels of difficulty for different models. What's the most extensive number of pieces that one of your model kits has included?
That would probably have to go in with these the 12th scale kits. I mean, where you're looking at upwards of 150, 200 parts.
Wow.
Like this one in particular had individual spark plugs.
Wow.
Which you can't see when
Pretty
it's all put
intricate,
together,
yeah.
but yeah, it's just, taking it to that level.
That level of detail. It's all about the attention to detail, that's for sure. That's awesome.
Right.
Well, great. I had one more question. Have you noticed anything in 2013, in the different trends or anything that the field is kind of shifting towards, or anything that you're excited about that's coming up in the future in the art of modeling, or anything that the U.S. is kind of picking up on?
Well, it seems that the kits are constantly improving. There aren't maybe as many new releases as what we'd like to have,
Right.
of course, but the kits themselves, with the advancements in manufacturing, the fit is so much better on the new kits than the older kits. The parts go together like they should. The detail is much crisper, so there's not as much you have to do to get them together to make a nice looking replica.
Definitely. Now, if you had any advice for anyone watching that maybe isn't or hasn't started modeling but has some interest, anything that you would like any of our viewers at home to keep in mind, or any tips to think about as they start their first model for their collection?
Well, the main thing is just to have fun with it. If the first one doesn't turn out great, so what? It's a learning experience. I mean, I'm still learning after 40 plus years of building. So it's just, again, have fun, just enjoy it, relax. If it doesn't turn out, try another one and just experiment and see what you can learn. And join a club. There's always help, with a lot of people that'll kind of guide you along and
Sure.
help you through.
Excellent. Is there anything you're working on right now that you're really excited about?
Actually working on an airplane right now. So
Cool.
it's another learning experience, just trying different techniques and seeing what else I can try, and
Just expand the craft a little bit.
Right.
Just kind of
Right.
always learning. Excellent. Well, it's getting to that point in the night where we're going to have to call it a show, unfortunately. I would like to personally thank my friend Mike Klessig for joining me today to shed some light on this fantastic hobby, as well as Al Jones for allowing us into his house to showcase his massive yet magnificent collection. As I mentioned before, I'm Tanner Burke for Miniature Wheels. Thanks for driving by.